to TPI Insider, where we give you an inside look on how we support and develop our travel advisor rockstar community. Calvin,
What's going on?
the stars have aligned to where our very first episode of TPI Insider is with you, the new Vice President of Sales and Engagement, Calvin Rodriguez.
What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Well, taking it all in.
Yeah, it's been 48 hours, right?
I know.
And that you've been in the building,
Yep.
and we're already sitting you down, putting you in the hot seat.
Since yesterday.
Well, you've been in different hot seats.
Yeah.
But this is a more public format of the hot seat.
Yeah.
So you come to us with a very impressive 23-year career at Carnival Cruise Line.
Yeah.
Tell our audience how you got started in the travel industry. We know you got started with Carnival, but tell us walk us through that story a little bit.
You know, it's funny. Really, I never had gone on a ship in my life. Ever. Never sailed. Didn't know anything about the cruise industry in general. And I wanted to be a police officer or into the fire department.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so I was working security
Okay.
at that time. And one of the guys was like, hey, you know, there's an ad in the newspaper for NCL.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so they didn't take me.
Okay. But you applied.
But I applied.
Their loss.
Their loss, yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, then I ended up seeing in the newspaper an ad for Carnival Cruise Line. So
Okay.
I went to the headquarters there in Doral. And one thing to another, I said, you know, I'll do this for a bit, right? And I
Okay.
think if you talk to a lot of people that work at Carnival, they'll tell you, oh, we just started this just for a couple of years, see
Yeah.
how it goes. And then you end up 30, 23, you know, 40 years in the company. But yeah, it was something I wanted to try and learn.
Yeah.
And I started on the phones,
Okay.
taking phone calls for our travel partners.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. I know you've been with Carnival for 23 years, right? I know you can't tell me that you fell in love with travel or the travel industry the first year or 2 years you've been there. So if you can recall, when was that moment where you're just like, that's it, I can't go anywhere else besides the travel industry? I think everybody in the travel industry has that moment. When was that moment for you?
Well, the moment I think after a year of me really understanding the process, understanding Carnival, actually being able to sail on a ship. And once I got on board and I got to see the experience that guests have on board the ships and have these amazing vacations and experiences and memories, I think that's where really it hit for me. I got the opportunity to sail with a couple of guys that were at Carnival at that time. And it was a guy's trip.
Nice.
And it was on the Carnival Triumph.
I haven't had the pleasure.
Which is not on the fleet anymore.
Okay.
It was,
So this was a paid trip that you and your guy friend just decided to take, or was it
no,
a work trip?
Actually, no, it wasn't a work trip. So part of being with Carnival, one of the privileges was they give you, as an employee, they'll give you one cruise that you can try for the first time.
Oh, fantastic.
As
Okay.
an employee. So we decided that we were all in that same time frame.
Right.
So we said, hey,
Let's do it.
Let's do it together instead of
Did you
going
guys get
solo.
Did you guys get your own cabins? That's the real question.
No, well, you know, it was 2 in each cabin, but
All right,
you know, it's all right.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad.
Were they bunk beds or?
It was bunk beds.
They were bunk beds for
Yeah,
real?
They were bunk beds.
I was just joking. Who slept on top?
Hey, that's a trick question.
No,
man.
because there's a story. There's another employee, actually, Pam Scott. Shout out to Pam Scott.
Yeah.
She has a story about Carnival, and they made her, share a cabin with an employee, and there was an incident of somebody. It was, I guess, a rocky, a lot of waves that night, and somebody fell off the top bunk.
I didn't fall off, but yes, I was.
I don't know if this part is
I
gonna
was
make
on
it into
top-
the episode, but yeah,
top bunk. Yeah.
top bunk.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've had the privilege to work beside you and
Yeah.
see how you work at events, at TPI events. We have a lot of great BDMs in
Yes.
the travel industry, right?
We do.
But your level to detail and the connection that you have with the travel advisor community is definitely something special, right? Not every BDM has that. The question is to you is what fuels that passion for the travel advisor and the travel industry?
I think what fuels it is really my passion for business. Being a business owner myself and seeing what it is to be able to own a business and operate a business and do the type of things that you need to be successful.
Right.
And I think that passion, and then with the passion of the cruise industry that I was, with Carnival, you put those together and it was like nonstop, right? And so I transitioned that over. But at the same time, too, is that what made it work for me was I was able to listen to the advisors, right? Because everyone has something different in their business. They're not all the same.
Of course.
And so if you walk in there thinking you know it all and really don't understand their business, then how can you be successful? So I think one of the biggest things for me was really understanding their business, hearing them, and then how can I help you expand that and grow your business with Carnival at that time, right? So that's what worked for me.
Right.
That's what I was very passionate about, and I loved seeing people succeed.
Right.
And when you succeed, other avenues open up for you. You have other opportunities that come, right, as you grow with your business, right? Other doors open up in the future, and you can expand that business. And sometimes it could be just a one-man show, but over time, you become so successful that it starts becoming, bigger and bigger. Right. And so that to me was important to see that. And it's okay if you just want to be that one person, right? Because we have advisors that are a one-man show, and that's okay. Yeah. But for those that really wanted to expand and grow, for me, that was exciting, to see that develop over the years and see some of these people and see their advisors too, their associates, their team grow as well. Yeah. So it's not just about just the owner, but it's also about how to take care of and really help those associates that are with them and team members.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny you say that, the whole watching the advisors grow and develop, right? Whether it be a solopreneur or they have a team, or they started off as a solopreneur, now they have 20 advisors under them, to see that growth process and to know deep down, you have, as a host, we play a role in that success. Yeah. You could really see the fruits of your labor and your efforts. With that being said, you are one of the very few BDMs who won a MAG award.
Yes.
You did win a MAG award in 2023, right?
24 last
24. No, it wasn't last. Was it last year?
Well, 2023 was the communications.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God,
captain,
yes, it was. It was.
And 2024 was the BDM of the year.
Oh my God, yeah. So I was there when you accepted that award.
You were.
I don't think you had any idea you were going to win that, did you?
I had no idea.
No idea.
It was a big surprise. It was great to have my wife there with me. Right. That was a surprise too. I because she wasn't going to be able to come. So I got to be thankful for that and see that, she was able to see me go up on stage. And it was not expected. But in a way, when I came into TPI, I knew that I had a challenge. I knew I had I knew where I wanted to go with TPI, right? And I knew that I needed to work with the advisors. I needed to show them that I cared about them and their business, to build those relationships, right? And they become friendships too as well, right? And that was a goal that I had when I came over to TPI, was how can I get to that mountain, right? Because there's so many, like you said earlier, there's so many great BDMs, that are partnered with TPI that any of them could win it, right? And so how can I stand out and be that guy that really delivers what we're trying to do? So 100%. It was a special moment for sure.
It was well-deserved. Honestly, very well-deserved. So going back to your Carnival years, 23 years, very impressive. What is your biggest lesson learned, your 23 years at Carnival? If you could take away one of the biggest lessons you've learned there, what would that be?
I think that over the years, I've had great leadership, and everyone that I've talked to has always told me to listen, talk less, listen more, and I've adapted that into my everyday life. Not only working with fellow colleagues, but also applying it with everything else, personal life and things like that. Because I think if you just listen to people and understand them, you'll go a long way. So listen and then speak less. And that's something I've repeatedly heard throughout the years from different leaders in the organization, and that's something I've really taken with me.
Carnival I've always admired the leadership.
Yes.
At Carnival, they're great. I don't think I've ever met anyone from Carnival I disliked or didn't really like. Like everyone I've met, I've absolutely they're great human beings.
They are.
Honestly.
They are. Truly, they are. I mean, if you think about the years, right, that everyone's been there, we've become a tight group of individuals and leaders there, and we all know that we all played an important role in the success of the travel advisor community and things like that. So, I had, fortunate enough to work with, Kirk Neal, Mike Julius, Adolfo Perez, 3 great guys that really cared and really wanted you to succeed and would listen.
Yeah.
To a lot of the things that you had to say, and sometimes they can go through, and sometimes they don't, and that's okay. But that's part of the process.
Lessons learned.
Yeah,
for sure. So now that we have a good idea of your 23-year, can't spend too much time on it, right?
Right.
So we're gonna put you in the super hot seat, and now we have questions that we got from our advisors that we're gonna ask you.
All right.
So here we go, advisors. This is for you.
This is for you.
This is for you. All right. The first one, add a little comedic relief to it.
Yeah.
So can you now reveal the secret ingredients of the Guy Burger's secret sauce, since you're no longer with Carnival?
Obviously that's my boy, right? That's asking that question. William Luke.
Yeah, that's William Luke.
Yeah,
shout out to William Luke.
Yeah, shout out to my boy out there. And I do have the 20-inch biceps. And by the way, I cannot release the secret sauce, but there is somewhere where you can find the recipe for a Guy's burger.
Now, my question to you is, how many times has he asked this question?
Oh, man, this guy asks it all the time. I take him to the gym on board the ship.
The fact that you know exactly who this question came from was hilarious.
Of course.
All right. Okay.
It can only come from him.
Okay, cool. All right, William Luke. This is a good one. From an outsider's BDM perspective, what do you wish advisors would be trained better on when working with vendors/partners?
That's a really great question, and I believe that the most important piece to the puzzle is that you have to treat your partners, the suppliers, like partners.
Right.
And trust.
Business partners,
because I think that's the first step to being successful and being able to work together.
Right.
And keep that communication going. Because at the end of the day, when you build that trust and you build that foundation and that communication between both parties, that's only going to translate to your client at the end of the day, and they're going to have a better experience. They're going to be able to enjoy that vacation even more, just because you made that connection, just because you didn't treat that supplier like just a one-off, one time I used them, okay,
right,
but keep that relationship going, keep that trust going, and as long as you do that, I think that the business will only be better,
right,
in a way that the client wins at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, if we're both working together, and I mean that the advisor and the let's say the BDM,
right,
who wins out of this is the client.
Yeah, 100%. So to kind of go, a little bit deeper into this question. So, something that, advisor would be trained better on, with working directly with partners, right? Is it safe to say that your answer is going to be, would you say, trusting your partnership? What's the hone in a little bit on more of exactly what you mean? Because I obviously, understanding that our BDMs are partners, business partners, right? But the reality I'm going to put my advisor hat on it, is that not every BDM is created equal, right?
Correct.
Meaning that we have really, really good ones that are engaged, and we have some that, honest truth is, they're busy. Right. So trying to find that balance. But what would you say? Is it more just having faith in the partner process, or giving the partners more grace? Specifically, what would it be?
I think that the reality is that regardless if they're busy or they're very on top of things, you should still try to build that foundation with them. And then also you have to trust the company behind them too, right?
Got it.
Because I think that's important. But there's another part to that, is that you have to take advantage of the learning opportunities that are being offered by that particular supplier, right? Because that's how you win as well. Mm-hmm. If you're more knowledgeable, then you'll translate that to your client as well. Yep. But then at the same time, you have to build that foundation. And listen, if they're busy or they're not busy, you need to work it out how is the best way of communication be moving forward.
Correct. 100%. Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. All right. So this is a good question. Okay. What is the biggest goal you're hoping to accomplish this year at TPI? And we only got, I don't know, like 7 months, 8 months. We're already in Q2, about to end Q2. So, to the best of your ability.
I think for me, is really, these 6 months are really going to be determined on understanding the process, taking notes, listening to the teams here at TPI, understanding how they work, and then from there is really putting together some ideas and things that can really support the travel advisor community. One of the things that, as a matter of fact, I just was talking to Debbie at events, and we were talking about what the future of the events will look like for TPI. And for me, I really think that there's a lot of value that we can have with these events by bringing in new content that not only attracts the advisor that may just go one time, but can go multiple times, because we'll have something different to showcase each time. And then I also want to think about what are some of the industry trends that are going on that can help,
that's
be
huge.
Part of that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is the Toastmasters, something that I think has value. Right. Because the travel advisor community, you may not be doing public speaking in front of 300 people, but at the end of the day, I've always thought of Toastmasters as a way to communicate. Yeah. And it could be a one-on-one, it could be a few people, but at the end of the day, it also helps you if you're trying to close a deal with somebody, you have confidence, you're able to speak with them.
For an audience that may not know what Toastmasters is, explain what that is.
So Toastmasters it's a huge organization. You can find them on you can type in Google Toastmasters. It's pretty much there's different chapters all over the U.S. and there may be one in your local city, and you can enroll into Toastmasters. And basically, what it is, it's a way to help you speak with public speaking.
Fantastic.
And that's what it is. And so, depending on your level, they put you in classes like level 1. It may be that you're speaking on something that you like to speak on, that you're comfortable speaking on. But then once you get into level 2, you're going to have some type of structure with how you're speaking with your audience. And then it goes on. But then you have evaluators that are also listening to your speech, taking notes, and giving you positive feedback. And then your time, because there is a timekeeper. So
That's huge. The timing is huge.
yeah, so there's a timekeeper. So, and this is important because how many events have we gone to where we have the time clock and we're looking?
Happens all the time.
Yeah. And so for me, I've gotten to the point that I rehearsal so much
Yeah.
that I don't look at the time because I already know that when I'm done at the time that
Yeah.
that is given to me.
Right.
But not everyone's that comfortable.
Yeah.
So I think that this helps with timing.
Okay.
It helps with public speaking. But one of the things that adds value that I've always said, and I teach it to the kids, is that you're able to have that one-on-one communication. And the advisors are having meetings with people. What about if they're going to an organization,
Yeah.
right? They're going to a nonprofit organization,
Right.
and they have to speak to a group of board members.
Yeah.
If they didn't have Toastmasters,
Right.
or have that training,
Right.
of
Or even
speaking,
even experience. That's huge.
how would you feel? Right.
Right.
You would feel a little nervous. Maybe you're
Yeah.
not 100% ready. Maybe you lose the deal because you just couldn't connect.
It's funny you say that, and just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, again, I travel a lot for events, and we are regional events, Rocky Travel Biz. It's business building and best practices. But we ask some of our advisors to share some of their best practices, right? So we'll give them 15, 20 minutes to go in front of a room of 70, 80 people, maybe more with partners in the room, and kind of, give us your spiel, right?
Yeah.
And there's some advisors who are super polished.
Yep.
All of our advisors are amazing, but there's some advisors that have a wealth of knowledge,
Yes.
very smart, but they haven't gone through the reps, right? They haven't stood in front of a room of 70, 80 people and kind of give their spiel, so you can see kind of where the challenges lies there.
Yeah.
But I mean, to your point, yeah, I could definitely see where, the advisor community, our advisor community especially, can benefit from something like that.
No, definitely. I mean, just being at the events myself and seeing who's ready to stand up and speak, and who is a little bit shy and
Yeah.
not ready to go out there and speak in front of those 70
Yeah,
people.
it's
right?
intimidating.
Yeah, it is. It
Very
is.
intimidating.
But I think with practice,
Yeah.
and being able to, and we'll figure out how we incorporate Toastmasters, right?
Right.
Because it's interesting how we do it, and we don't have to go by the Toastmasters organization rules.
Right. Yeah.
We could play around with it, and I think there's a value to it. I know Jen doesn't like that word value, so we're gonna have to delete it.
Yeah, no, well, she'll be all right.
She'll be all right.
Yeah.
But there is goodness into Toastmasters,
Of course.
an advantage on that as well.
Okay, so just to recap that question, we spoke a lot on this
Yes.
one question. So
Yes, we
what is
did.
the biggest goal you're hoping to accomplish at TPI? 3 or 4 bullets, real quick. What are they?
Look at the overall. I think it's looking at everything, but I think that we have opportunities with our events.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so another one here is how would you define, this is a good one, how would you define success in your new role?
I think that I'll define the success is by seeing the advisors thrive
Right.
in what they do. I think that by you seeing them thrive, that means more sales,
Right.
more engagement, more of everything. But I think that by seeing them thrive is going to be a huge part of that.
How you measure success,
How
100%.
you measure success. And then at the same time, too, is just the team in-house, right? Being able to work together, sharing goals together and being one, to be able to go out there with the information that we need to be a successful host agency and be the best that we can be here at TPI,
Right.
For our advisor community.
So this question is not on script, but I
Okay.
want to ask you this question.
Okay.
You've had the privilege to work with a handful of host agencies.
I have.
Right. Without being, in your honest opinion, you don't have to put aside the biases, right? The fact that, you now get a paycheck from TPI.
Right.
What do you see other host agencies doing right and or wrong? We don't have to name names, but
Yeah.
what are some of the things that stand out to you?
I think that there's a lot, right? There's a lot out there, host agencies that I've worked with over the years. I think that what I've seen that's not a positive in there, and some of them is that they forget and they lose focus of the advisor community that's in their network.
Okay.
And I think that when you start losing that connection, you tend not to be as involved, and it's just an everyday flow.
Right.
Where in TPI, when I first took over TPI when I was with Carnival, I noticed right away that there was always a sense of family, a sense of a caring.
Yeah.
I really felt that you guys really cared about the advisors, that it just wasn't an advisor that's paying you a membership or enrolled with TPI or anything like that, but that you really cared about them. And I think that's one of the biggest things that puts you guys apart from the rest of the other host agencies that are out there, is that you really care about the advisor community, right, and that you're not fast to build to have 10, 15,000 advisors, yeah, but that you carefully look at who is joining and the onboarding process. That's where you see the care that, yeah, and how you guys bring in the advisors, yeah, to TPI.
I mean, I think that's a huge. I think that's a oversight on some other hosts is regarding the onboarding process. Yes, I've heard a lot of other people that work in other host agencies and advisors that left host agencies and came to us, and they said, I signed up and then that's it. I didn't get a phone call, I didn't get an email, I didn't get anything, right? And if you're a new advisor, if you're new to the travel industry, there's so much you need to learn, to be successful in the first 6 months to a year. That that onboarding process is extremely crucial, right? And to put more emphasis on what that looks like. The travel advisor's success is our success, right? We share the success, but to your point, yes, I agree. That does make sense.
And I was telling you earlier, I mean, what you guys put out with the content and the creative that you guys do is top notch.
Thank you.
I mean, when you look at the playing field that's out there, right? You guys, or us now, yeah, are doing an amazing job, right, with the creative and all the different assets that we are able to put out there for our travel advisor community, right, and in all the other social media platforms that we have. I think it's amazing. And I mean, when I came on board, you guys did this, cool, yeah, banner for me there. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't.
Right. No, I mean, to your point,
it was nice.
Yeah, we really try to take a look at, the connection factor and creating content that is going to resonate with our community, and even outside of our community, honestly. It's just finding those stories and telling those stories. Yeah. Fantastic. So we have a couple more questions here for you. What advice would you give yourself, your younger self, if you couldn't go back 20 years, right? What would be the best advice you would give to your younger self?
I think for me, the hardest thing for me was I was stubborn, and I didn't want to listen. Okay.
Well, give the audience an example.
Well, I guess I was set in my ways. I felt like I was the know-it-all, and I didn't need anyone to help me or support me or give me any advice or mentorship or any of that. I wanted to take on the world. Yeah. But I think that's because I'm very passionate and ambitious. But at the same time, what I was saying earlier is that I learned that you gotta. You can have all those traits, right, but you gotta listen. You gotta be humble. And I think I learned that over the years. So if I can go back to Calvin at 19 years old,
Yeah.
you know, I would say, hey, chill out, man.
Calm down.
You know, relax, dude. You know, everything will be all right.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, last question. So, what piqued your interest? What about TPI piqued your interest? You know, I know, you know, the conversation of you coming on to TPI and working for TPI, or the idea of you coming to TPI, or even working in a host agency, that's not from one day to the next. That wasn't, you know, brought into your future. So, you know, what really piqued your interest? You know, why TPI?
You know, I'll start with saying that at first it wasn't TPI, right? Because you know the plan, my plan was always to grow to the next step in my career, and that's always been my passion since day one. And I was grateful to be around these leaders, as I mentioned, right? So I think that I had this conversation to, you know, to myself, to my kids, to the wife, and I said, what's next for Calvin?
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things for me was, you know, what does that look like for me in the future? Is it Carnival? Is it somewhere else? And, you know, when we started working together with TPI a couple of years ago while I was with Carnival, you know, things happen for a reason. You know, I came in, you know, and I wanted to really understand how you guys operate, how you guys do business, really engage with the advisors. And then it allowed me to see how you guys operate internally without working for TPI, because I took the time to sit down with the teams, you know, and I made time for that while I still made time to sit down with the advisors, because I built that foundation with you guys internally and with the advisor community. And then when I started seeing how you guys operate and how you guys do things and how you guys are innovative and creative, and you try to be, TPI always tries to set the tone for everything, and then you have the people that follow behind TPI. I saw that. The other thing too is that, you know, there's been some changes, right?
Yeah.
And we're not gonna be afraid to mention that, and that's okay. Changes happen. But how does a company recover from those changes is how the future looks like. And I think that one of the things that, as I saw these changes, I said, you know what, this would be a perfect opportunity for me to come in and all of the years of experience that I have and have a meaningful impact with this organization here at TPI. And so, you know, when Jen came to me, you know, I had talked to her prior, and with this idea, and I said, wow, you know, it's I was excited, I was nervous, but you know, I was excited for this opportunity, and to be honest with you, I didn't even hesitate to say yes once I got the green light.
One, I know. That's why I said that was going to be the last question, but just one other question. You know, I've known you for a while now, and I see you at trade events, right? How do you think you're going to adjust? You know, let's say Cruise World, we go to in November. How are you going to adjust? You know, walking on a trade show floor on the other side of the business, the host model side.
You know, I told myself this past weekend that hat will come off. Yeah. And that hat doesn't exist. Right. And the new hat is on. Okay. And for me, when you think about these industry events and all that, nothing really changes. Yeah. Calvin is still going to be Calvin. Yeah. And I'm still going to be the guy that you are going to talk to. 100%. But it's just that I'm going to be talking about TPI. Yeah. And I'm going to be talking about why is it important to be a part of this team and be a part of this network, and how can we continue to grow your business. Right. And so it's just the language changes just a bit, but the Calvin inside stays the same. And I'll walk the floor just like, but I'll be wearing that TPI colors. And that's awesome. And represent TPI to the fullest.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. All right, well, Calvin, that's it, man. I think that's it.
I thought it was only 5 minutes that we were talking.
Well, it feels like it, right?
Yeah.
But no, we appreciate you taking the time.
I got some questions here for you too.
You
man.
do?
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
no, you
Look,
don't.
Hold on, here. Hold on, I got. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, sure, 100%.
Okay, all right, so let me ask you.
Yeah.
You know, you've been with TPI for a very long time.
Yeah, 10 years.
So, tell me, what has been your most successful time here at TPI in these 10 years?
Honestly, I would have to say the current time, right now. Right now is you know, being able to have a vision, but then being able to cast that vision is extremely rewarding. I'm able to build out a team. We're hiring new people. We're filling out new positions. Really seeing the team grow has made me extremely happy.
And I can agree with you because, you know, I think that this was part of this idea of me coming over too, is the growth.
Yeah, the opportunity.
The growth, the opportunity and the expansion that we're going to see in the next 5 years here for TPI. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And that 5-year plan. So I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah.
To do great things together.
Yeah, it's going to be, we have a lot to look forward to, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
All
right.
All right. So are we ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of TPI Insider, where we give you the inside look of how we support and develop our travel advisor rockstar community. Thank you again, Calvin. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah.